rid of this background. Y'all gonna have to teach me how to work this computer. I do not want this background. Let's see. Okay, background. How to take this off. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Come on in. While I try to figure out how to turn this background off because I don't want it. There we go. There we go. Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, come on in. We're going to get started once I can get everything together right here. Let me fix this. I'm so disorganized, y'all. Unfortunately, my MacBook had been plugged up all day, and I got ready for the live and saw that I was down like to 3%. So I had to plug it up. So I'm going to unplug it right quick so that I can get some order. Unplug it so I can get some order and get y'all out of the hallway. Get y'all out of the hallway. How is everyone doing today? How's everyone doing? I guess I should introduce myself. Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Leslie. I am the owner of Kinky Curly Beauty's hair studio here in Douglasville, Georgia. For those of you who don't know, Douglasville is about 35-40 minutes away from the city of Atlanta, depending on the traffic and depending on how you drive, because I can get out there in about 30 sometimes. But I am a natural hair professional. I am also a licensed cosmetologist. I've been licensed since 93. I've been doing natural hair for the past 13 years. I'm doing great. I'm doing great, Isha. Doing great. Hello, y'all. I'm so glad you made it. So glad you made it. So, we're here today to talk about natural hair and the damage that is caused by several different things. But first, I want to start off by saying that I do not believe in bashing stylists. I do not come on live or make posts to blame the stylist because we're doing our jobs a lot of times. Now, there are instances where we can be educated a bit more, but this is not a blame dump on hairstylists. If anything, it is to educate and to inform our clients, the consumers, because I feel like a lot of the issues that we're facing with our hair, we wouldn't face if we all were educated and informed on what our hair wants and needs. So that is my goal, to be a vessel in on our journey, helping us to learn our natural hair. Is that south of Atlanta? It is west. It's west of Atlanta, Terry. It's west. As a matter of fact, Douglasville is about 35-40 minutes from the Alabama state line. So we're west. We're west. I got to remember to keep looking down at the chat over here. Let me see. Okay. So I posted 3 videos, 2 last night and 1 this morning, of different issues that I commonly see with my new clients or with clients who go out and are hard headed. Um, and I wanted to start a discussion because I've been speaking on heat damage for quite a few years now. And I started speaking on heat damage because I saw that it was so prevalent. There were so many people coming into the salon with heat damage, not knowing that they had heat damage, and didn't know what happened, didn't know what the causes were, didn't know how long they had it. And I was just blown away that so many people are walking around here with heat damage, not knowing. And it's important to me because so many of us love our kinky curly hair. Now, there are those of us who love our hair straight, but there are a bulk of us who love our kinks and our curls. And let me also say that I'm not against flat ironing. I'm against improper flat ironing. I'm against flat ironing that intentionally causes heat damage and or uneducated people who are either wanting their hair flat ironed or are doing the flat ironing. That's what I'm against. But the act or the style itself, I'm not against. I'm just against the the ignorance behind natural hair. I'll say that because I've had one too many women sit in my chair and cry, um, who are visibly shaken, who are visibly upset, and disappointed that they're now having to start their journey over because they weren't educated on how to take care of their hair in the when you're wanting to flat iron the hair as well. Um, and with it with several other things, not just flat ironing, with handheld blow dryers, with bleaching, with high lift colors. And a lot of the issues we're facing is because we're either uneducated, uninformed, or we just don't know what we're doing. And that's either the stylist and or the client, the consumer. But if we all, no title, consumer, stylist, client, whomever, if once we are educated on how to care for our hair, then both parties would know. And even if both parties didn't know, as a client, if I know that I have fine hair and my hair can't take a lot of heat, when I go into a salon, that would be one of the first things that I tell the stylist in case they aren't aware. Because I know a lot of us, we tend to chair hop because we see somebody in the mall or we see somebody at the grocery store, we like their hair, and we just decide to go to this stylist. And this may be a stylist who caters to women who don't care about their kinks and curls. All they want is the end result of having straight, silky hair. So you go to the salon, you book the appointment, go to the salon, they give you what you asked for, but you didn't mention that you want to keep your curls safe or you want to keep your afro safe because you want to wear a fro after you wear the straight hair. And knowing this, if you know that you want to do that, you should also know what your hair needs and doesn't need. So at this point, even if the stylist does know, you can reiterate that you only want lukewarm heat, small sections, one pass, and call it a day. But if you don't know this, you'll go in and sit down and assume that the stylist knows, and you go home smelling heat, you'll go home smelling burnt smells, and you're scared because this is normally what happens to my clients and my new clients. They tell me that they leave the salon and they're smelling the stench of burnt hair and they're in a panic. They're terrified, they're scared that their curls aren't going to come back, and they don't wear the straight hair long at all because they're terrified. So 2 or 3 days later, they jump in the shower with the hair. Some of the curls come back, some don't come back. I've even seen instances where none of them come back. And they're mad at the stylist. And part of that anger should go to the stylist if they, made you think that they were going to take care of your curls. But then a lot of that anger should also go towards you because you should know your hair. So it's time that we stop only blaming the hairstylist and become educated on how to care for our natural hair, our kinks and curls. Does anyone have any questions as of now? Any questions? Any questions? I've wrote some notes down because I wanted to remember or be able to go back to a lot that I've seen with those 3 videos that I've had up, have up on my Instagram and Facebook. No questions? Okay. Um, on the videos um, that I have uploaded with the issues with hair, issues with the hair, I jotted down a few of the responses from some of the people who responded to the post. So one good response was on the first video that I posted, that maybe it was the growth cycle, because I posted the first video I posted was of a new client that I recently had, and she has a beautiful head of hair, and when she's wearing it in her curly state, it looks fine. But once you start to go through the hair and comb the hair, you notice that there's a lot of breakage. I mean, a lot of breakage. And I began to, ask her, what her history was, what was she doing, what has she been doing in the past year? Because that's what I ask all of my new clients, like, what have you been doing with your hair for the past 12 months? What is your typical style? XYZ. So she told me that, she basically does a really nice regimen that she has, but she also wears crochet braids. So my question then was, okay, how often are you installing these crochet braids, and what is your process? Do you blow dry, apply product? Do you blow dry, just braid, whatever? And she blow dries and she applies the install, but she's only using a leave-in to prepare for this install. Now, the leave-in would be fine if she had, soft curly hair. But as you can see in the video, she has kinky hair, kinky coarse hair. And our kinky coarse hair needs moisture because our hair is very sensitive. Although it's big and thick, very dense, it is a very sensitive type of hair. Easy to break, especially when it's dry. So I said, well, one of your issues is you're not using enough product to moisturize, and you're applying this synthetic hair on your hair that's causing a lot of this breakage. So there's several things that could have happened with her hair in these processes. Um, she could have gotten heat damage from the blow dryer, from the handheld blow dryer blowing the hair dry. She could have not applied enough moisture, and the hair was dry throughout the wear of the style, which caused the hair to become extra sensitive, which made it easier for the extensions to also break her hair. There's several different things that could happen, but you have to know how to care for your hair when you're wearing every style. Because I tell people that the crochet hair is one of the safest ways to wear your hair when you're trying to leave it alone, because it's just tied on your hair, and it shouldn't be tied tight. But if you're not moisturizing your hair thoroughly, and you're blow drying and just the hair is dry throughout the whole process, that can cause for a really bad issue. And as you can see, her hair is I wouldn't say it's really bad, but she has a lot of breakage. Does a demi color cause damage to hair? It shouldn't. It shouldn't, Robin. Um, no, it shouldn't. Are you having issues with your hair and that's what you think the cause is, demi color? No, that shouldn't be an issue. Um, but with the growth cycle, someone said growth cycle about that video. Let me make sure my laptop not dying. The growth cycle, your hair wouldn't be that drastic in its typical growth cycle, because the anagen cycle, part of the cycle, is the first cycle. That cycle is 90% of your hair. So in that growth cycle, 90% of your hair is doing the same thing. So you really That's why we don't see it, because all of our hair, well, not all of our hair, but the majority of our hair is doing the same thing at the same time. With that breakage that you saw on that section of hair, that would not be um, a regular part of the growth cycle, because so many of those little hairs were broken, and it wasn't 80 or 90%. Does the client you mentioned have to cut her hair? No, she doesn't. No, all she needs to do is stay away from hot heat, whether it be the handheld blow dryer or flat iron. She definitely doesn't need any type of flat ironing heat, any type of curling tool heat. If she just has to have a handheld blow dryer, I would recommend it be on a lukewarm or even cool temperature. But she needs to stay away from all of that type of heat, because it's just going to get worse. Now, what I did tell her, and she didn't want to cut a lot of her hair, but I did, I recommended that she at least let me take off an inch. And then I told her that when she comes back, I need to possibly take off another inch, because as we know, split ends travel. They grow. I mean, they don't grow, but they travel up the hair strand. So if we want to save as much of that hair as possible, we need to cut those thin ends, because I didn't show y'all the ends, but because of all of that little hair that kept coming away from the section of hair that I was sliding down, the ends were so very thin. She has about 4 inches that really need to go, because they're so thin. But a lot of us are stuck on length, so she didn't want to get rid of it right away, and I can understand that. And I feel like I gave her a style that would let her allow her to wear a little of that length a little while longer. But when she comes back, she will need to get more of that cut off. But she thought that she was doing everything right, and a lot of what she was doing was right, as it relates to not staying away from too much heat. And when I say too much heat, I mean repetitive, like monthly. She said that she was only getting the crochet braids like every 3 months or so. So in a person's mind that doesn't know about your your natural hair, they think that that's okay. But what I tell my clients is, our hair remembers. The bonds, your hydrogen and disulfide bonds, they are the same. As long as you have that hair, you have the same disulfide bonds, you have the same hydrogen bonds. They don't change. So if you use too much heat in January and your bond doesn't break, but it melts just a little bit. So instead of your curl coming back tight like it used to be, it's wavy a little bit. It's a little loose. So a lot of us, we like that, because that means that the hair is hanging a little bit longer. We pay it no mind. And then we think, okay, that was one time, so I'll do it again come fall. So you do it in January, you get a little loose curl, and then you do it again in September, October. And now that curl is even looser. Now it's wavier. You're not really thinking much of it, because now your wash and goes are even prettier. They're easier to do. Although your hair is drier now, it's feeling weird, it's feeling kind of rough. Um, it isn't holding on to moisture like it used to hold on. You're getting a little bit more shedding than you normally would. So many different things are giving you signs that, hey, something's wrong with my hair. But a lot of times we ignore it. We just know that, okay, we have looser curls, that wash and go is prettier. It's not as hard to detangle anymore. I'm doing good. Sometimes you even will have an issue where your roots are really thick, but your ends are not as thick as your roots. And that's because you have breakage that you're not realizing, you're not paying attention to. And the end result for that is you having to cut off 5 or 6 inches of hair. So there's so many different things that tend to happen to your hair throughout a process, or where you're not doing something that you should be doing to your hair. Are there any questions? Any questions? But whenever your hair isn't all the same length. But when you're sliding down a strand of a section of hair, you should not get all those flyaways that she was having. Her and the third one are almost the same, are almost the same. But we're going to talk. I'm going to talk about all three one at a time. In the crochet style, how would you recommend her to moisturize? I would recommend her um, to do the lock method. Her leave in her oil and her cream and braid her hair down and sit up on the dryer. Now, her hair is not going to be dripping wet. When I style my clients' hair, all of my clients are styled on damp hair. If you notice in my videos, the hair is not dripping wet. The hair is damp. I apply my lock method. I twist their hair up. I sit them up on the dryer. Once their hair is dry, then they come back to the chair and I finish the style. They do not leave with a wet pin up. Their hair is twisted, whether it's flat twisted or two strand. They sit up on the hooded dryer and then I style them. And as far as the hooded dryer is concerned, the hooded dryer has circular heat. That's what the holes in the hood are there for. Because although it feels like that heat is coming straight down onto your head, it's not. It's going in a circular motion. So that circular motion prevents the heat from just attacking directly onto your head. Although the heat does feel that way, it's not. It's going in a circular motion. And because of that circular motion, you're not getting heat damage. So for that reason, I style my client's hair damp. Like I said before, put them up on the dryer, bring them back to the chair, and then I finish the style. And that's what she needs to do. She needs to make sure her hair is damp, not soaking wet, apply her lock method, braid her hair down, sit up on the dryer, get the hair dry, and then apply her crochet hair. And while she's wearing the hair, which is the beautiful thing about crochet hair, you can moisturize the hair as much as you like because you can't see it. So throughout the wear of the style, she'll go in and just lightly apply whatever her moisturizer and oil is. Whenever she reaches in there and feels that the hair is dry, put that moisturizing oil on the bulbs of her hand and just go in there and moisturize that hair. And that's all she needs to do. And she can wear that style 4 to 6 weeks, take it out, and start all over again. And chances are, if it's done properly, if the hair is not tied too tight on the hair, if the hair is thoroughly moisturized and just out of the way, it should be fine. Which oil do you prefer when moisturizing? Mine, of course. Edged Out. Is it Edged Out Beauty? Girl, mine. My oil. I have a sealing oil and a conditioning oil. I recommend mine. But everyone needs, um, I think everyone needs the lock method, especially when you're dealing with kinky natural hair. Especially when thank you for the hearts. See, I'm so not used to this process. So if I'm giving y'all some good information, please leave me some hearts. I would really appreciate it. I'm so glad. Yes, all of that. Thank y'all so much. Thank you so much. But yeah, that a lot of our issue is we're not moisturizing our hair as much as we need to. And this is why now I am against mousse. I'm against mousse and I'm against grease. And I'm against mousse because I have yet to try a mousse, no matter how they change it up, that doesn't dry out my client's hair. And I'm not, and I haven't used it, but they will come in and I will say, well, what was your hairstyle with? And they would say, well, she used the mousse or I used the mousse. But this mousse is conditioning. This mousse has this mousse has that. But the hair is still real dry because mousse mousse is designed to give you definition. It's not designed to moisturize your hair. So for that reason, you get beautiful definition, but you don't get the moisture. And over time, that natural hair, the drier it becomes, the more sensitive it becomes, and the easier it is to break. It's so much more prone to break when the hair is dry. Making sure I don't have any questions down here. Okay, I just read your response, Robert. Okay. Um, so what else? Let me see. Okay, that was the first one. Now, what I recommended for her to do, now, I recommend that she returns to me every 3 or 4 weeks, and I give her a protective style that she can just leave alone and allow that hair to grow back in. Because who asked me that? Terry asked me if I had to cut it. You don't have to cut the hair, because just like I mentioned with the growth cycle, the hair is going to grow back in. It's just going to take some time. So if she just keeps her hair moisturized, keeps her hands out of her head, keep it safe, properly styled, eventually those hairs are going to catch up and she won't have to do a big chop. A big chop is never necessary. Now, if you're impatient and you don't like the different type, the two different textures, or the detangling process is just getting on your nerves, then you can cut the hair, but you don't have to. I have a question about roller sets. When you finish discussing about I have a question about roller sets when you finish discussion about the damage you posted. Really enjoying this chat about hair assessing. Oh, cool. You can ask me now because I'm not in a hurry. If y'all in a hurry, then y'all can come back and watch the replay. But we can talk about it right now because I'm just going by the little notes that I picked up off of the post that I posted last night and today. But if you have a question, feel free to ask those questions now. But there were so many other responses like braids, wet styling, over manipulation. And the thing about braids will break your hair, um, can break your hair, especially if your hair is too dry before you braid the hair, and if you're leaving the hair dry throughout the wear of the braids, you can get breakage. But I've not seen breakage to that degree coming from braids. I just haven't. Do you think doing roller sets every 2 weeks is a healthy way to maintain afro hair? That's a hard question. I think in the beginning it's fine if your hair is not too long. Um, but over time, that's going to be a bit much because your hair is staying dry. So if you have, you know, maybe 5, 6, 7 inches of natural hair and you're wanting to wear a roller set every 2 weeks, that's not bad. But once you get some real length on that hair, you may want to start moisturizing, because the longer the hair gets, it's going to start hitting your clothing, just being able to be touchable about everything. And anything that's touching or rubbing that dry hair is going to cause split ends and breakage. So while the hair is up off of the shoulders, maybe, but once that hair starts laying down on your shoulders or hitting your collar and all that, I wouldn't recommend it being dried that often. Because, like I said, our kinky hair, type 4 hair, and I know people don't like the types, but our kinky natural hair, especially our kinky coarse natural hair, it's so very sensitive. And I think a lot of people just look at it like this nappy hair and, ooh, you got some bad hair. No, the kinkier it is, the more coarse it is, means that it's the most sensitive. So when that sensitive hair is dry all the time, it has nothing left to do but break. So I wouldn't recommend it being dry that long if it's a longer length. Yeah. Any other questions? Wet styling. Like I just said, I wet style. I've been wet styling for the past 13 years. And all of my clients who've been with me for a season have healthy hair. Typically, my clients whose hair isn't healthy, either they came to me with unhealthy hair and I'm transitioning it to a healthy state, or they went out and had something done to their hair and came back with it unhealthy. Um, so typically, in the 13 years that I've been wet styling, I haven't had any issues with any damage. Any damage. I mean, when I say any, no damage in the 13 years. As a matter of fact, and I tell people all the time, when I was in Birmingham, that was when I had the healthiest clientele, because in Birmingham we didn't have all the extra stuff that we have here in Atlanta. Like, we have your typical hair salons that do um, your silk press, your braids, your locks, but how do I say this? There's just so much here in Atlanta to get into, and there's not that in Birmingham. So I didn't experience as much damaged hair at home than I do now here in Atlanta. And I know that that's because there's so much to offer here. And a lot that's being offered to natural hair isn't good. So, being here these last 5 years, I've experienced so many clients that come in, even today, with damaged hair. And it bothers me because it doesn't have to be this way. And most of us, we want big, beautiful hair. We don't There are some of us who want and love short hair, but the most of us want long hair. I feel like a lot of the damage that we are dealing with is because of our love of long hair. And a lot of that love for long hair comes from blow drying the hair so much to try to stretch the hair, or using certain products to try to elongate the hair. There is not one product on this earth that will elongate your hair. Because the thing is, if you apply a product and it's heavy enough to stretch the hair, as soon as that product dries up, the elasticity is going to shrink that hair right back up. And elasticity means health. If your hair doesn't have any elasticity, it's not healthy. Point blank. If it's not, especially if it's wet. If it's wet and there's no bounce in that hair, it's not healthy. What is considered wet styling? Just rods and roller sets? No, everything I do is wet style. I don't have a handheld blow dryer. I bring my clients from the shampoo bowl to the styling chair and I get to work. I don't I don't use a handheld blow dryer, period. So everything that I do is considered wet styling. Make sure I haven't missed anybody. Okay, so now, since being here, I'm dealing with so many people who have issues with their hair because there's so much to offer here. Yes, everybody that sits in my chair is style wet. Everyone. And I do that because the hair, number one, the hair needs the moisture. Um, and by sitting under the hooded dryer, all of that moisture is being set inside of the cuticle. So, and that's another thing. Like, when you're blow drying your hair so much, eventually, not only are you drying the outside of the strand, you're drying inside of that cuticle. And once that hair is dry like that, it's just there's you just feel like there's nothing you can do to make it feel moisturized. I saw one comment, I'm not sure if it was on Facebook or Instagram, but there were some ladies saying that no matter what they put on their hair feels dry. And a lot of that is because of heat damage. Now, there's several other issues that could be wrong with the hair, and that's why I mentioned that on Instagram. Like, I'm not saying that there's one thing that caused the issues that you saw on those videos, but a lot of the issues that cause a lot of things that cause those issues could have been avoided. And that's why I stress the need to educate yourselves and be informed about the do's and don'ts of natural hair, because most of the things that are happening with our hair can be eliminated. We don't have to go through it. But like I said, most of our issues also come from trying to elongate our hair, trying to have long hair. And I tell my clients all the time, if you focus on the health of your hair, the length is going to come. I have clients who have long hair who never had long hair, because I finally convinced them to stop thinking about the length and start focusing on the health. So once they start focusing on the health and doing things that will keep their hair the healthiest, the length was automatic to come. You're guaranteed length if your hair is healthy, but you're not guaranteed length. You're not guaranteed health if you're focusing on the length. Oh, let me plug my laptop. Goodness, it's running out quick. I'm so mad at myself. Hold on, y'all. And my cord is so short. I can knock myself out for doing that. Okay, let me plug us up. Let me plug us up. Okay, I got us back up. Okay. Another issue that was mentioned, transitioning, when you're transitioning from relaxers, heat damage, or anything, transitioning to a healthier, curly, kinky state of hair. Now, you will get the two different textures. You're going to have the thick, kinky, curly roots and the straight hair on the ends. And the longer your hair gets, the more healthy hair you grow, the weaker your ends become. But if you're wearing styles that are allowing you to keep your hands out of your hair, that can be a smooth transition. I transition clients monthly, and there's no concern for them because I do it all. So they come in with their two different textures. The demarcation line gets heavier and heavier with every month that passes because the hair is growing, because it's moisturized. And with every visit, I'm clipping some of that old hair off. So with it, when I say smooth transition, I mean they don't miss any hair, because I cut the hair according to how fast the hair grows in. So if there's someone whose hair doesn't grow fast, I don't cut fast, because we want to have some hair to style. So if their hair grows slow, I'm cutting slow. If their hair grows fast, I'm cutting it off fast, because we're swapping out bad hair for good hair. So the process can be very easy if you have someone who knows what they're doing, who's helping you throughout that transition. So even with you transitioning from a different texture of hair to another, you still wouldn't see that type of breakage if it's done the right way. Um, what was another one? Over manipulation and bad weaves. I guess the bottom line is, no matter if it's over manipulation or bad weave, either, you still wouldn't get that type of breakage unless you were doing like a quick weave. Because what I don't understand about quick weaves and what is another one? Well, I guess just quick weaves. They put the stocking cap on top of braids or whatever, and then they just apply the hair with glue. Like the stocking cap is not allowing the glue to seep through to your hair. So I know that wearing quick weaves can cause that type of breakage. So if that's what that person meant by bad weave, then absolutely. But over manipulating, you'd have to really be over manipulating to cause that type of breakage that she had. Are there situations where you can't cut slow because the damage is so bad that it will travel into healthy hair? Um, no, not necessarily because my clients come, they're regular. So it's not like I'm not seeing them for 3 or 4 months. The typical person who comes into the salon that has heat damage, they're getting their hair done every 3 or 4 weeks. So they're coming in. I'll clip maybe an inch of hair, style it. They don't do anything to it until they're getting ready to come back to me. So I style their hair. They'll wear their style from 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes even longer. Take their style down and come right back to me, and I do everything all over again. So no, there it's not doing anything but staying in that one place. So because of that reason, no. But if they had that situation and it wasn't in a protective style and they were just wearing it loose or combing it every day or just manipulating the hair every day, then yes, it would travel to the healthy hair. Yes. Let's see. Okay. So now we're going to the second post that I made with the straight hair in the middle. I hate y'all. I hope y'all, I know y'all can probably hear those alerts. I put my phone on vibrate, but it's still making that noise. I'm sorry about that. I asked what you all thought the issues were for that, which she had about 5 inches of just straight hair in the center of her strand, all around the hair. Well, you didn't see the top, but the top was almost all straight. Even the the root. She had maybe 2 inches of curl at the root, and all of that front was straight, even the ends. Now the back part that I showed y'all had the curls on the end, but the straight in the middle. And the thing about heat damage, because we have so much more hair in the back than in the front, when you have heat damage, the bulk of your heat damage most of the time is going to always be in the top. You can have it all over, but your top will be the worst because it's not as dense and it's not as full, full and dense as the back. But her issue, when I posted that, I wanted to see what you all thought, and the first thing everyone started saying was ponytails. And I don't, I don't wear ponytails. I've never even provided a service for a ponytail. There's a funny joke that I used to do with my kids when they were teenagers. I would tell my girls, if you ever see me with a fake ponytail, just know that I'm losing my mind and you need to see about me. But that was just our joke between the three of us. But I've never had a service styling for a ponytail. So I was kind of thrown when I kept seeing the response about the ponytail because I'm like, that's about 5 inches of straight hair. Like, what type of ponytail could cause that much damage uh, on a head of hair? Does tape ends cause breakage? Of absolutely. Absolutely. All these new um, ways of adding extensions cause breakage, especially to kinky hair. Now, you may be able to get away with it with straight hair, but I'm telling you, y'all really need to realize just how sensitive our kinky hair is. It is so very sensitive. That's why so many of us have damage because the hair is sensitive. There's stuff that you can get away with relaxed hair that you can't get away with natural hair because our dry, kinky hair is so sensitive, so very sensitive. But no, it wasn't ponytails. I even heard chemotherapy. Now, I've had clients who had some type of chemotherapy in the past, but I haven't had a current client who was going through chemotherapy and was my client. So I can't speak on that, but I do know that this client had not had chemotherapy. She was just getting her hair blow dried and flat ironed every month. And and somehow that straightness was just in the middle of her hair. And I was like, wow. I had never, I'd seen it a little bit, but not to that degree. And I was just blown away. I could not believe how healthy her curls were on the end, but and the root, but her middle section was so very straight. And the thing is, her whole head had heat damage because I saw pictures of her hair prior to her starting the flat ironing process, and her hair was very kinky. Curls were very small, very tight. And but throughout the season of her flat ironing her hair, although she still had curls in certain places, they had gotten very loose. And then she had those issues where the hair was very, very straight. And all of that was the technique that her stylist was using. And someone mentioned right before I came on today that it could have also been the rolling brush when they were blow drying the hair. But the thing is, and I tell people all the time, the handheld heat, what makes the handheld heat so bad are the tools that are used with the blow dryer. Because you have to think about it. That heat, if you put that heat on your ear, you're going to move because that heat is so hot. So imagine that heat on a tool, whether it's a comb connected to the brush, a comb in your hand, I mean, a comb connected to the dryer, a comb in your hand, or a brush in your hand. The teeth on whatever those things are very, very hot. And when you're applying that hot tool to your strands and just combing it or moving it throughout your strands, you are melting the bonds. And the hydrogen and disulfide bond, once they are melted, there's no returning. You can do all the clays you want, beer, what else? What else they say? Apple cider vinegars, avocados. Eat that honey. Eat your avocado. Drink your apple cider vinegar. I need to take some shots so I can lose some of this weight. But honey, eat your food and stop putting it on your hair because once those bonds break, there is no returning. None. Now, if you melt the bond slightly, then you can tighten that curl back up. There is a possibility that you can tighten that curl up. And this is an instance where, like I said earlier, your curl was tighter, but then after that flat iron or after that hot blow dryer, the curl is looser. It's not gone, it's just a tad bit looser. Now you can work that curl back tight because the bond hadn't broken. But once that hair is straight, there's no returning. There is absolutely no returning. Those bonds are broken and they cannot be put back together. That's the thing about, and the thing about that, the reason why they can't be put back together, because people always say hair is dead. Hair just comes from dead cells. Our hair is made up of dead cells. So because the cell is dead, there's nothing alive to make those bonds want to go back together because the cell is dead. So once that bond breaks, there's no returning. I missed. How did that damage happen? Um, it was either from her hair drying process and or the flat ironing process, because I remember back in the day when I was a flat ironer. um, some of us have certain techniques in how we blow dry and how we flat iron. And I do remember working with someone who would bend that brush or that flat iron in the same area every time she would do hair. And it was a lot of that was her curling the hair with the flat iron or curling the hair with the rolling brush. But back then we weren't concerned about heat damage because we were relaxing. So it really didn't matter because we were relaxing. But when I think about the technique, that can easily cause that type of damage because we're getting that bend. It's like, you go down and then you start bending. And then you kind of light up on those ends because you don't want heat damaged ends, or you just don't want too much heat on the ends. So I feel like that was her issue. Either it was done with the rolling brush or it was done with the rolling brush and the flat iron. And the thing is, when you're getting a silk press or a flat iron today, they're going to blow dry your hair, then they're going to flat iron your hair, then they're going to go back in and curl your hair. So if they're using the same technique with the handheld blow dryer, same technique with the flat ironing, and the same technique with the curl, you have a really great risk of getting that straightness in the middle, because the bulk of your bump is going in, your weight is going in that bump. So that's, I mean, and she can tell me how it happened. I'm just thinking, she telling me that for the past year and a half, before she came, that was her first visit. For the past year and a half, 2 years, she was going somewhere and getting her hair flat iron. And that's all she was doing. So it had to be one or all of those techniques. And it blew me away because I'd never seen it so drastic. So for me, that told me that the technique was, like she has her technique and that's what it is. And because of that, that the weight of her bump was causing that straightness in the center. But it was just, and that was, let me see, that was about a year and a half, 2 years ago. But she eventually went back to straightening because she didn't want to. And this is the thing, and she wasn't used to wearing her hair natural. She knew she was having a lot of shedding. She didn't want to lose her hair, but she wasn't used to wearing her hair natural. So eventually she just went back to straightening the hair because she wasn't used to wearing her hair natural. And that is one of the reasons why I never try to convince people to be natural. I would rather you make up your mind and then find you a natural hairstylist. Because the thing is, a lot of your family or your peers, if they're used to you looking a certain way, they're not going to be used to the change. And they will tell you they're not used to the change because it happened to me. When I decided that I wanted to transition from relaxers to my natural hair, or from flat iron to my natural hair, because I went through several steps. I I was natural in the early 90s, but I was wearing a buzz cut. I just wore my hair real low cut. And then in the late 90s, I decided to let my natural hair grow out. I didn't want to wear it short anymore. But in that process, I didn't know what to do with it. So I started flat ironing the hair. And then I got tired of flat ironing the hair. And then that's when I transitioned back to natural hair and figured out how to wear it without having to cut it off. But in those, in all of those transitions, I always had someone to say, "What you doing? What's going on with your hair? Is this what we doing today? What we doing?" And if you're not secure within yourself, it will make you feel so crazy. Like, what am I doing? Oh, is it ugly? Now you second guessing your decision. But when you make up in your mind that this is what you're doing, it doesn't matter what anyone says. I had a cousin that used to call me Wanda Sykes because I had a red afro. And Wanda was wearing, I think, like a burgundy afro at that time, or some type of wine color afro. I didn't care because that is what I wanted to do. Now, if I wasn't secure in who I was, that would have made me feel so bad. And I probably would have went and gotten rid of my afro. But I did not care what he was saying. But um, some people do it for the trend. Some people do it because they like certain styles, or they like someone else's curls. And then when they actually become natural and realize that their curl isn't like her curl, then they want to go back to, what's familiar to them, which is oftentimes either flat iron and or a relaxer. But she decided to return to flat iron, and that is fine. Because the thing I tell people all the time, it's kind of hard to go back and forth because eventually you're going to get some type of damage. that you're going to have to either cut off or transition out of when you're trying to have the best of both worlds. Unless you're someone who knows how to care for your hair on your own, or you have an amazing stylist who is intentional about taking care of your curls, so that when they're flat ironing or blow drying, they're really careful. They're taking their time. They're patient with your hair to assure that you're not losing your curls. But I would rather you stay over to the straight side if that's what you want, in order to keep your hair healthy. Because if you're trying to go back and forth, at some point you're going to have damage, because you're trying to have the best of both worlds. And it's possible, but it's difficult if you're not knowing what you're doing. If I stop blow drying my hair, how can I get it stretched enough to braid it two strand twist? I don't get what you're saying, Beverly. If I stop blow, so you're saying if you're blow drying your hair so that you can have enough length to two strand? The thing is, if you focus on keeping your scalp clean and clear, moisturizing your hair and wearing your styles, that hair is going to grow. I'm telling you, my new clients see a change within 3 months. And that's them, because I can see the change quick. But they will notice the great changes in their hair within a 3-month period, because the hair thrives. Our natural hair thrives when it's moisturized. It literally thrives, because the thing is, it's when it's dry and breaking, it's just trying to give you a sign that you need to do something. When you start seeing all that excessive shedding all over your sheets, I mean, not over your sheets, all over your sink, hair all over in your tub and all that, that's just a sign like, hey, I need something. Give me something. And once you start giving that hair what it needs, it's going to thrive. It's really going to thrive. But with the heat damage in the middle, I got responses like texturizers, and I know texturizers will do that, but typically texturizers are more damaging the thicker the hair, because texturizers aren't meant to stay on the hair long. You are supposed to be able to comb a texturizer through. So if your hair is really dense, really coarse, it's almost impossible to comb that texturizer through fast enough to just give your hair a looser curl. If your hair is really dense, really coarse, really tangled, you're going to get some straight hair, because you're not able to comb that texturizer through in the time that it's required to allow you to have that curl instead of straight hair. What was another one that I saw? I guess that was it for that one. It was either heat damage, texturizers, round brush technique, which was very possible, and the particular technique when flat ironing, which is also very, very possible. So I'm thinking, like I said, the blow drying process, the flat ironing process, and then the curl process. And then the last one that I posted this morning, it was either this morning or this afternoon. That person had been my client for about 3 years. She had beautiful, dense, type 4 hair. I mean, a beautiful head of hair. And I didn't see her for, I think she missed a couple months. And that's normal, because all of my clients are career women. A lot of them are career women and wives and mothers. And I know how it is as a career woman who's a mom. A lot of times we put everybody ahead of us. So it's not out of the norm that I don't see a client for a month. So when she came back, she came with her hair in this big fro. And I was thinking, oh goodness, her hair is so pretty. But I knew something was different. I just didn't put my finger on it. And I'm always so excited to see my clients. I automatically just start talking when she walked in. But I'm in my head, I'm thinking, her hair is something different. But because it was in a fro, I didn't think anything. So every time my clients come in, they come and sit in the chair. I drape them. I look through the hair. I detangle if possible. If I need to detangle, I detangle. And my fingers going through her hair, and I'm thinking there is something different about her hair. And draped her. We're talking, continue to talk. Take her to the shampoo bowl. And as soon as that water hit her hair, the aroma of the burn just filled the room. And I looked at her, I said, "You got your hair flat iron?" So she looked up at me. She said, "I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to see if you were going to notice." I said, "Girl, I noticed when you walked in because her fro was bigger and I could kind of see through it. And that was not a thing. Like you could never, her hair was so dense, you couldn't see through her fro. But because it was a fro, I didn't think heat damage. But I did notice that I could see through it and that it was bigger. But when I smelled that heat, I said, "Girl, I was looking at you, but I was, we're so excited to see one another. We're just talking. I didn't put two and two together until I smelled that burn." So by this time, I'm just putting the water throughout her hair and I'm just looking at it, trying to see, what we have. Her hair did not lose its kink, but it was so very brittle and it was shedding profusely. I mean, it was terrible. So, and I will hold my hand up and like, "Look, your hair is shedding like crazy." So I immediately gave her protein treatment. I shampooed her hair, and I always use Alpha-G. I gave her Alpha-G protein treatment and set her up on the dryer. And then we started talking. So I was like, "So what happened?" So she said, "Well, my hair was doing so good. I felt like it was in a great place and I really wanted to see it straight. So I found somebody online and I went and let them straighten it." So she showed me pictures. It was beautiful, but it was burned. So she said, and I took pictures. So I said, "It is beautiful, but she burned your hair up. I mean, it's burned." And to look at her hair, you wouldn't think heat damage because it wasn't bone straight. But her hair was 100% damaged by heat. And it was so bad to where she had little areas throughout the hair. I only showed like three on the video, but she had several areas in her head where the dime size just short. And everywhere I found it, she would say, "Well, it burned right there when she flat ironed me," or "It was burning right there." Yeah, it burned right there too. And the thing is, natural hair, the coarsest natural hair, is very sensitive. I mean, very, very sensitive. So, someone who doesn't know how sensitive natural hair is, when you see someone like her walk into your salon with all this thick, kinky hair, you think it needs the highest heat, or you think that, you got to have all these different steps to get this hair straight, and you don't. All you need is small sections and a, what, 330-degree iron or so. Something not as heavy as, excuse me, a 380, 400. You don't need all that heat. And I feel that they wanted to assure that they got her hair bone straight. So they applied all that heat with the handheld blow dryer and the flat iron and caused all of that damage. Now she's still my client. It took us, that was February of 23. And it took us, I'm trying to think, this is January 25. I think it took us about 20 months to get rid of all of that hair. So from February 23 up until about August, September of 24, That was when we got rid of the last of that hair. So now she has all of her thick, coarse hair back that you can't see through now. But it took almost 2 years to get rid of that hair. It smelled, and it smelled for months. It smelled for months. It shedded profusely. Um, the products, it was reacting differently to my products. It was reacting differently to her products. Because the thing, what a lot of people also don't realize is heat damage changes your hair from normal porosity to high porosity hair. So before your heat damage, your hair, whatever your products were, it would take it, be beautiful, stay moisturized. But as soon as that hair has heat damage, and now the hair has been changed from normal porosity to high porosity, it's dry as a whistle. Nothing you put on it stays because the cuticles are wide open. And when the cuticle is wide open, whatever you're putting on it, it's just going straight out. When it's normal, you can put the product on and the cuticle close and it'll hold on to that product. But when the cuticles are open, you apply that product and it's just sliding right on out because the cuticles won't shut down. And this is what high porosity hair is: normal, low, high. So when your hair is low porosity, you can't get nothing in. It's just laying on top of the hair. The product is laying on top. When the hair is normal, you can get that product in there and it'll just hold on to it. When it's high, you just land it on there and it's just going right on out. Just right out. And that's what was happening to her hair. So we did protective style. We did so many different things to try to hold on to her moisture. She was very insistent and intentional about getting her hair healthy. She was coming every 3 or 4 weeks, and now we got her hair healthy again. But all of that breakage that you see was from one flat iron. Just one. Wasn't several. It was just one flat iron. And she panicked because she was terrified. Shampooed her hair and she was calm. Once she saw that it wasn't bone straight, she was calm. She did realize that she had the excessive shedding. She did realize that it felt different, that it was acting different with her products, but she wasn't as panicky anymore because the kink was still there. And I tell people all the time that heat damage doesn't always get rid of your curl. It doesn't always eliminate the kinky texture. A lot of times there are signs that will tell you that your hair is suffering with heat damage. And like I said before, excessive shedding is one. The change of the feel of your hair is another. The fact that your hair responds differently to products that you would normally use and be fine, um, because your hair is no longer normal porosity. It's now high porosity hair because bleach will change your hair from normal porosity to high porosity hair, as well as heat. So you have to keep those things in mind. A lot of the times you won't see a definite change in your curl, but you will see signs. Your hair will show you signs that you have heat damage. Are there any other questions? Any questions? Any questions? And there was a lot of, well, not a lot. There were a few responses on that post that said that her issue could have come from detangling wrong, vitamin deficiency, or changes in your medication. And detangling wrong will give you a lot of flyaways, I will admit, but not to that degree. I would hope that at some point you would realize that you need to change your detangling method before it got that bad. Um, because you can get issues, a lot of flyaways from detangling your hair dry. I tell my clients all the time, never detangle your hair dry. If you need to go to the Dollar Tree or what else, Dollar General, to get you a little $1.25 conditioner, do so. Get it, put it on your hair, and detangle your hair. Because all you're doing is just getting a product that's going to allow some slip for you to safely detangle your hair. It doesn't have to be anything pricey. A little dollar conditioner is fine for you to use for your detangling process. Never, ever, ever detangle your hair dry, ever. What about excessive hair shedding? Yes, excessive hair shedding is one of the main signs that you have heat damage. Some hair don't grow over their full cycle and shed abnormally. What do you mean some hair don't grow over their full cycle? What do you mean by that? Because that's just, I mean, our hair, all of everyone's growth cycle isn't the same, but everyone has the same growth cycle. We all it all has to go through the growth cycle. Um, and our shedding is typically from 50 to 100 strands of hair. You don't know if you're speaking proper English on French. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. That is absolutely fine. Look, I am for the people. I don't care. I don't care what you're speaking. I am for the people. I'm just trying to understand. Because I am an American with a real heavy Southern drawl. And for years, you couldn't pay me to speak online. But I'm here now. I am here now. But our hair is going to go through the growth cycle. And when said that about the growth cycle, like I mentioned at the beginning of the live, the anagen cycle, a portion of the cycle is the first level. And the anagen cycle is pertaining to about 80 to 90% of our hair. So 80 to 90% of our hair is doing the same thing. Most of it is doing the same thing, which is why we really can't tell when our hair is growing. We just notice, especially when you have color, you just notice that the hair is growing out. And that is because most of it is doing the same thing at the same time. But I noticed that some hair just grow for a little time and shed a few times later, not as long as. But a lot of our hair grows differently according to the texture as well. Straight, as we all know, straight hair grows much faster than kinky curly hair because it's an easier cycle. It's straight hair. With our curly hair is going through a process to get up out of that follicle. So a lot of the reasons for the differences in the growth cycle is texture. But the anagen portion of the cycle is the majority of our hair. Majority of our hair is growing at the same time. That 80 to 90% of our hair is growing at the same time. So that is why when someone mentioned the growth cycle about the flyaways, I'm like, it couldn't be. Now we do have shorter strands of hair throughout our hair, but it's like I think they said um 15%, but the majority of our hair is in that anagen cycle. Um, but again, about that heat damage, um, I want you all, if you're not familiar with your disulfide or hydrogen bonds, I want you to Google um, information about your hydrogen and disulfide bond and what happens to them with excessive heat. I had a client who would wear braids a lot in the summertime. She's a referee. And she came back after the season and she had heat damage. And I said, "You don't wear your hair straight, do you?" She said, "No, I just been wearing braids." I said, "Well, girl, you have heat damage." So I don't know how much heat they were applying to your hair with each set of braids that you have gotten throughout the summer, but you have heat damage. And she has very beautiful hair. Her hair isn't as kinky as it is curly, And I feel like that's why she had so much heat damage, because her hair wasn't real kinky. It was more curly than kinky. Um, but she suffered a lot of heat damage from just having a handheld blow dryer. But when you understand that your strands are made of bonds, like little little ringlets of bonds, as if you get enough heat on that bond, it's going to break. And when it breaks, all of the elasticity is gone. And that's why I say, if your hair doesn't have any elasticity, that means something is wrong. You have damage, because if for you to have that bounce back in your kink or your curl or even in your wave, if that hair isn't bouncing back, if it's not shrinking back up when you pull it down, if it's not shrinking back up, that means you have some type of damage, whether it's chemical damage, which with bleach or high lift color, or it's heat damage. Would you recommend only braiding with human hair opposed to synthetic hair, or that cause problems as well? Well, Ali, I've learned that a lot of the hair that is labeled human is a mixture of human and synthetic. Now, I do know that there is 100% human hair out there somewhere in the universe, and it is very expensive. But a lot of the human hair that we see um, in these beauty salon, not beauty salons, in the beauty stores, is a mixture of human and synthetic. So you have to be careful about where you're getting your human hair from. But yeah, but the thing is, anything that's covering or wrapped, intertwined in your natural hair is putting your natural hair at risk if your natural hair is dry. Anything. But like I tell people all the time, if you're going to wear braids, put them up in a style and leave them. Don't have them shaking all everywhere, and you pulling them up and taking them down every night and pulling them up. If you're gonna wear them and put them in a style and leave them. I noticed thinning of my hair behind my ears. No direct heat, only flat twisting every 3 weeks. It doesn't seem tight. What are you flat twisting with, Robin? Are you using a moisturizer or are you using mousse? Because that can make a difference as well. Because like I said, mousse dries your hair out. And over time, that dry hair is going to break, especially if you're using a scarf to tie your hair down at night. If you're wearing a bonnet at night, if you're putting anything on that dry hair and it's rubbing against that dry hair, you have a high chance of breakage if the hair is dry. And I don't know, I've yet to find or to see a mousse that moisturizes the hair, that doesn't have the hair very dry. Now, mousse gives definition, beautiful definition. All of the styles that I've seen done with mousse, especially twist outs, braid outs, beautiful definition, but the hair is dry as a whistle. And if you're going to wear a dry style, it needs to be temporary. It shouldn't be worn more than a week. So I want to know, Robin, if your twists are done with mousse. I have a lot of flyaways and I'm trying to figure out the culprit. I kind of think it's lack of moisturizing and improper detangling. And it can be both, Terry. It can be flyaways can come from detangling the hair with a brush. And I know a lot of people love brushes because brushes allow you to detangle quickly. But what you have to consider with brushes is, if you're a natural with kinky hair, then your hair is intertwined on one another. That's why it's tangled, because it's just curled on each other. And if you're using a brush, the brush is forcing that hair to separate. And if your hair is dry, or if your hair is not moisturized well, a lot of times that brush is forcing the hair to break. I never recommend brushes to my clients, but I know a lot of naturals use them. So your flyaways can come from using brushes to detangle. Your flyaways can come from certain types of styling. Your flyaways can come from the hair being too dry, heat damage. There is a number of things that can cause those flyaways, but in those number of things, all of them can be eliminated. You don't have to detangle with the brush. You can use a wide tooth comb and then go in with a rat tail comb. Um, what else? You don't have to wear styles that's going to break your hair. You can moisturize your hair more often. Everything that you can do to cause flyaways can be eliminated. Okay, let's see. That texture is softer and finer than the rest of my hair. Not sure if I should stop flat twisting and go to two strand twist. No, flat twisting is fine. I was waiting on you to tell me if you were using, well, what type of product were you using? Are you using a moisturizing product, a cream, or are you using a mousse? A mousse. That's your culprit. Because the thing is, it feels good, wet, but it dries. I mean, when I say it dries and leaves our hair so super dry. And like I said, dry hair breaks. As soon as something touches that dry hair, that dry. Have you ever had a cut on your hand from a piece of hair? Like if that hair is that dry that it can hurt your finger. So imagine it being dry enough to be against something that's just as dry as it is, like a piece of wool from a hat or from your collar or from a comb or a brush. There's so many things that can cause breakage when your hair is bone dry like that. And that is one of the reasons why I just don't like using mousse, because it leaves our hair so dry. Yes, the definition is beautiful. Yes, and a lot of people use mousse because it dries quick, because you can be in and out. But that is it's to a detriment of our natural hair, because our natural hair does not need to be dry like that. It just does not. So yes, I think now that may not be the only culprit, but it's one of them. It's one of them. If you're blow drying and using mousse, the blow drying can be causing excessive heat, excessive dryness, as well as the mousse. So there's so many different things that can be causing your break. And this is another thing that I want to talk about, and it's not nothing pertaining to this live, but I'm just going to say it. I typically don't talk about products and brand names because no one pays me to talk about them. But I want to talk about Mayel and the dilemma that they're going through right now with people talking about the products are taking their hair out. Now, I'm not saying that the product is or isn't taking their hair out, but I think that people aren't also considering what they're also doing with their hair. Because, like I mentioned, with those styles, with those videos that I posted on my page of my clients, I didn't do anything to cause those issues to their hair, but several things happened to their hair that caused those issues. So if they didn't know any better, and if I didn't keep a good record, they could say, "Well, this happened because you didn't know." I no, I didn't do anything to your hair, but style your hair. But your issues derive from something else. So I'm saying this to say that the product could be bad or it could be amazing. But I feel like a lot of people aren't also taking into account that they may be using excessive heat. Um, they may have had a real strong color, bleach, hot lift. They could be flat ironing often, and that caused issues. Like there's so many different issues or causes that could have caused those issues other than that product. And I've never used Mael before. I've never met the people. I don't know anything about them, but it's so unfortunate that so many unlicensed, uneducated people are are claiming these things about them when there's so many other things that could have caused their issues. So, and I say this to say, learn your hair. That's why I started out this live saying that I don't believe in bashing the stylist, because I feel like when we're talking about damage to natural hair, everybody's held accountable. And when I say everybody, I mean the stylist and the client, because I take pictures of all my clients, especially my new clients. When my new clients come in, I'm doing pictures, I'm doing videos, because I want to remember what your hair looked like the first time I saw you. I want to remember. And as the hair is changing, I'm continuing to take pictures and videos. That's why I can go back 2014 and pull a video of a client that I had 10 years ago, because I keep good record. I keep great record. So I think it's best to learn your hair. I tell my clients all the time, create a picture diary. Every 3 months, take a picture of your hair. If you want to do it monthly, take 360 pictures of your hair, each side, front, back, to keep a diary of what your hair is looking like, especially if you're going through stages of growth or you're new on a journey. Take pictures, keep record, because you want to be able to say, okay, well, this happened last month and now this is happening. So what did I do different this month that I didn't do last month? Or what do I need to change? There needs to be records on both ends for the client as well as the stylist. And you also need to learn what not to do and what to do to your hair. I feel like a lot of the damage that I'm seeing today, I shouldn't be seeing, because at, at, at this point in the natural hair journey, we all know what heat damage is. But I think that we're still needing to be educated on what is actually happening with the hair, which is why I mentioned in the live about the disulfide bond and the hydrogen bond, what actually happens when you get that excessive heat or when you get that strong bleach, because that bleach is going to immediately break that bond, especially if you're leaving it on there and coming back like, yeah, your hair gonna be straight, girl. And not to mention, if you bleach it and flat iron it, yeah, you gonna be cutting that hair real soon. Real soon. I haven't found a cream that hold my twist. They start to unravel. I have to find a moisturizing cream now. Robin, I don't know if you follow me. I don't know how you found me. I'm glad that you're here. But I want you to go to my Instagram and or my Facebook page. I'm on Pinterest. I'm on all of these platforms. I use the lock method and nothing more. I don't use grease. I don't use gel. I use the lock method. Now, I definitely don't use mousse. And their twists stay. They stay. I think a lot of the issue as it relates to cream is your technique. And I feel like that's why a lot of people use mousse, is because the technique that they know works with mousse. But I feel like if you advance your technique or change your technique to be able to work with the lock method, your hair would be in such a greater place. All I use is lock method. That's all I've used for the past 13 years is the lock method. And it works. I'm back in the day. I don't know how long y'all if y'all how long y'all have been on your journeys, but I think it was back in 2010 I started getting the Curl Kit boxes. It was Curl Kit and another one. I can't remember. but I used to get both the boxes, both subscriptions. And I use mousse on my hair because it came in one of my boxes. And I was like, oh, I got a mousse. Let me try. Because I was trying everything. I'm buying them every month. So I'm going to try them. I did not like, excuse me, how that mousse affected my hair. So I never, ever, ever put it on one client of mine because excuse me, I remembered how it did my hair. I'm natural. I've been natural since what? 1994. So my hair may not be just like everyone else's, but it's still natural hair. And like I said, I love the definition, but I did not like how it felt on my hair. I didn't like how my hair felt. I didn't like what I had to wake up to every morning with that stiff, dry hair. I just didn't like it. I didn't want my clients to have to deal with it. And me knowing that dry hair breaks, I want my clients to have healthy hair. So I didn't want to have to be dealing with trying to um, overcorrect or correct my wrongs every other month because I know as Black people, we love long hair. And I did not want my clients to be coming to me month after month after month and not seeing any progress. And I knew that with the mousse, I was going to either have to be clipping their ends every month or making up an excuse of why their hair is looking the same 18 months later. Because your hair should not be looking the same year after year after year as it relates to health and growth. You should be seeing length and growth. I mean, length and density, health in a year's time. If your hair looks just like it looked 2 years ago, you're doing something wrong. If it hasn't progressed any 18 months, 2 years, something is wrong. And it may be either your technique and or your product. Any questions? We've been online for an hour and a half now. I have enjoyed y'all. I hope y'all have gotten some good information. I haven't seen any hearts, anything in a minute. So I hope that just means y'all forgot and that you are getting good information. I do flat twist every 2 weeks as well. I only use a light, semi light leave in and raw shea butter. The back of my hair stays soft and moisturized after the 2 weeks, but not the top. Are you blow drying? It is also normal that some hair on the same head absorb less moisture than some other strands. This is my case, and I never put heat so far since my big chop. Is there something I can do? Um, just damp hair. So you're styling on damp hair. And are you colored? Do you have color in your hair? And it could be that that leave-in is just too light for your hair. If you're a coarse natural, if you're a kinky coarse natural, your hair is laughing at that leave-in because it's not hardy enough. So you may need to get you a moisturizing cream, which is like a twisting cream, something heavier than that leave-in to add with your shea butter. The shea butter is fine. I feel like because the thing is with your leave-in and your shea butter, the shea butter will stay, but the elements are going to dry up that leave-in. So that's going to leave you with greasy, dry hair. But if you use a heavier product like a twisting cream or twisting custard along with your shea butter, it's going to stay on your hair longer um, and give you greater results than just that leave-in. Your kinky hair laughs. I mean, because I use a leave-in, but I use my leave-in to wake my hair up. So when I spray leave-in on my client's hair, it's only to wake that cuticle up, open that cuticle up so that I can apply my cream and oil. I don't use my leave-in as a styling product. I just use it to wake the hair up. So you may need to use something a little heavier than that light leave-in, because that light leave-in is gonna evaporate. And once it evaporates, it's leaving nothing. Any other questions? Any other questions? Let me see how much. Okay, I can take this plug out now. I've got some good charge because I feel so awkward sitting like this. Any other questions? Good, good. Try a thicker product, and I'm going to try to start going live weekly. So when I come back next week, I want you to let me know if you've tried a harder product and how it's feeling on your hair. Because the thing is, I make my own product and I use it on every client's hair, no matter how thick their hair is, no matter how fine the hair is. It works for all of my clients, but um, it's not thick, but it's a hardy product. I can turn my container over for a few seconds and it's not dripping out. It's a hardy product and it works well. When my clients take their hair down, their hair is still very moisturized, still very moisturized. So it may be that leave-in is not enough. But I want your takeaways tonight to be to start learning your hair. If you're a stylist, start learning the ins and out of natural hair, especially if you're a natural stylist that caters to both sides of the string, the kinky curly side and the flat ironing side, because I've I've heard some very defensive stylists as it relates to the client coming to them saying that they gave them heat damage, and I understand that you feel like it's not all your fault, because it's not all your fault. They should know their hair as well as you know your job. Um, so I will never put the blame solely on the stylist, which is why I say we're not just going to be beating up stylists because you should know your hair. But at the same time, we all should know how to take care of natural hair in all phases, especially if you have made it a point to service ladies or men, children who also want to keep their curl, and you're a person who specializes in straight natural hair. So I feel like it is your duty to try to be careful with that hair when you know that these people are, trying to live both worlds, trying to be on both sides of the fence. But also, it's also the client's duty to know what their hair needs and what it doesn't need. So if you're going to sit there and just let someone do something to your hair that your hair doesn't need, then that's on you. And this is why I say everyone is liable. All of us are liable, and that's why I only style in a kinky curly state. I don't do any straight natural hair because I don't want that risk. Because there's always a risk. Even if you do everything 100% right, there's always a risk of heat damage. There just is, because you really don't know what's enough until it happens, or what's not enough. Because I've heard people that say, I got my hair flat iron and it was an afro the next day, or it was an afro the next couple of days. And if you're someone who wants to be on both sides of the fence, that might be a good thing because your curls aren't ruined. So it's just, I just wish that we would just learn our hair, because I feel like at this point the natural journey has been a thing for, I know for me, since 94. I didn't really get educated on how to care for my natural hair until maybe 2009. So I'll say for a good 12, 13 years, we know what's working. We know what to do and what not to do. And that's for us seasoned people, because there are more and more people getting on the natural train every day. So I wouldn't say that for our newbies they should know, but that's what we're here for, to teach our newbies what to and what not to do, especially if there's someone who is looking forward to having big, beautiful, kinky hair. I have a new client. She came, oh, I guess she came maybe last summer. And I posted her. She had about, I want to say about 50% heat damage when she came to me, I want to say in July. Well, she came to me in July. I cut, she had enough hair for me to cut about an inch and a half, 2 inches off before I styled. And the goal was to cut a little bit with every service until she's fully transitioned. Well, she went out and got her hair flat ironed again in November. And when she came back this time, she had about 75% heat damage. So the progress that we made from July to November was ruined, because she went and got a second flat ironing, and now we're working from 75%. But her goal was, when she came to me in July, she wanted to be able to wear her big, beautiful curls this summer, this upcoming summer. And I said, that may be possible. If you do this, come every 3 or 4 weeks, style your hair in this protective style, you should be good by August of 25. But now, since she went and got that second flat iron in November, she's in a worse shape than she was in July. So now it may be December 25 or spring of 26 before she's fully transitioned again. And I feel like if we learn what processes to take and what processes to steer clear of, when your goal is kinky, curly, big, pretty hair, you'll just do what you need to do to stay on course. How to tell by the feel of your hair if it's moisturized. Um, your moisturized hair should feel soft. It should feel, it shouldn't feel wet. It should just feel soft and pliable. And when I say pliable, I mean like you can run your fingers through it without it feeling like it's tearing or breaking. Your dry hair is going to make a noise. It's going to be um, it's going to have like a paper sound to it, and it's going to feel wiry, rough. If it's moisturized, it's not going to make that paper sound, and it's not going to feel wiry and rough. Yeah. So I think we've been on here almost an hour, 45 minutes. And if you all don't have any other questions, I want us to be out of here within the next minute or so. I have thoroughly enjoyed you all. Like I said, I'm going to try to make this a weekly thing. The lives may not be as long as this one, but I feel like this live was needed, because I think that like I said, a lot of issues we're facing can be avoided once we are informed and are educated on how to care for our hair properly in its kinky curly state. Because the things that you do for straight natural hair, you don't necessarily have to do for kinky curly natural hair. Our kinky curly hair is so sensitive, and it has its needs. And if you don't comply with those needs, it's going to show you by breaking, by shedding, by just being out of control. And the goal is to have healthy, kinky, curly hair if that's what you want. And by doing so, if that's what you want, you have to do what you need to do. And the top thing is keeping your hair moisturized and wearing proper protective styles. If protective style is your way to go. But if that is all, I appreciate you all for tuning in. I will have this available for replay, and I will see you all again next week. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Bye bye.